It does. That does take a while.
I wish I'd done it first.
And then, yeah. Hello, good evening, good evening, good evening. And yes, you're hearing for the first time in a little while our dulcet tones on the old After Dark. I am actually quite pleased. So I'm going to thank everybody that I've bumped into recently that has said, not so much as they used to say, oh, I listen to ARL, but they hear me talking and go, After Dark.
Dear.
So people are listening to After Dark, which is great. So thank you for listening to episode 1 of series 17. 17. Wow. 17. And for this season, we're going to have 4 weeks. So keep your Wednesday evenings free, 8 p.m. on a Wednesday. Get yourself a glass of something nice. Put the kids to bed. And let's have a chat. And to kick us off for this season 17, you have your regular hosts. You have Charlie, Paul Lee, and Mark Gray. And we have an extra special guest tonight, Alison Owuku. Alison, welcome to After Dark.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for having me on this evening. I'm really looking forward to the conversation.
Well, I was looking forward to the conversation and was worried if I should actually be in the studio to be part of this conversation, because I thought it was a conversation. Do you know the old expression, you're on a hiding to nothing?
Oh.
So I do hope, and I'm giving out the number now, 0745 964 2898. That's 0745 964 2898. You're tuned into Adventist Radio London. It's Wednesday night at 8 p.m, so it's time for After Dark. We have our regular hosts and we have Alison Owuku. And the topic for this evening, Charlie, I don't even know if I can say it without trembling. What's the topic for this evening?
When you're tired of your spouse.
Oh, you sounded keen.
Yes.
She sounded a bit keen. When you're tired of your spouse. When you're tired of your spouse.
Yes.
Now, when I put that into Google and tried to get as many different articles and perspectives as I could find on it, I made sure to put in from a biblical perspective.
Listen, being tired doesn't necessarily even though the Bible does cover most emotions, if not all emotions, I think being tired of someone is I don't think it's a bad thing.
Except if you're kind of wedded to this person for the rest of your life.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, it's an uncomfortable thing. It's a very uncomfortable thing to find yourself tired. So, Paul, are you saying that you, if you're wedded to them, you shouldn't get tired, or are you saying that if you're wedded to them, you ignore the fact that you're tired?
I think I'd probably go with option 2. Rather than option 1.
I'll take the I'll take the B.
I'll take B.
B.
Yes. No. I'll tell you why I think. In reality, I hope I'm not going from the beginning right to the end.
He does that.
Yeah.
He does do that. He gives us the solution in 8:05, and we just say amen and go home. We've got 2 hours. We've got 2 hours worth of conversation.
I must apologise. But here's my thought. We are all different.
Yeah.
We don't think the same.
Yes.
We don't behave the same.
Mm-hmm.
So we progress at different rates
Yeah.
at different times.
Mm-hmm.
So there may be times where something is uncomfortable for me, but not necessarily for you.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as I'm concerned, relationships are not just kind of based on feelings, on how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
It's a commitment that you've made to each other, assuming the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to have ups and downs. It's inevitable that you will have ups and downs, but do you do a Primark where you
just throw it out and get
just
another
throw
one.
it out and buy another one?
Well, I'm going to bring in Alison on that one because Paul's. I mean, you can't argue with the sentiment that Paul's got, but he's saying what I'm taking from what you're saying, Paul. I should say he's saying what I'm inferring from what you're saying, Paul, is that you're equating the being in a different place from your spouse at any given time,
Yes.
having a disagreement with your spouse at any given time, to being tired of your spouse. So I'm going to bring in Alison. So Alison, if we say our title, When You're Tired of Your Spouse, a biblical response to marital weariness, what does that... Oh, sorry, Charlie doesn't like the word biblical.
The biblical.
He put all of this stuff on it that was not needed.
I didn't see that bit.
I thought that's the title
Thank
you
you.
gave me.
I didn't give you all of that.
I didn't see that part of the brief.
I thought that's
But
what
I'm sure
Charlie
we're going to
said.
get there.
Charlie sent me, when you're tired of your spouse, a biblical response to marital weariness.
I did not send you all of that. But anyway,
What did you send me?
Alison,
What did you send me?
Alison was gonna answer the question. Go on,
So Alison, okay. When you're tired of your spouse, Alison, what does it say to you when we think of the word tired in that context?
I think about exhaustion. I think about, something that's been ongoing for a period of time. And I think about something that's chronic, for example, and it's not a kind of one-off event that's easily resolvable. I think about something that's persistently going wrong, and it's tiring, it's draining, it drags you down, it kind of impacts on your well-being or on your life in general, the feeling of fatigue. And so you're in this marriage or you're in this relationship, and the experience, the negative experiences that you're having is not something that's just like a one-off experience. Is something that's maybe enduring, something that's maybe been ongoing for a period of time, and you feel bogged down, tired, drained, fatigued. That's what I think about.
Okay, go.
So, do you think tiredness is a build-up of residue, or do you think you just become tired, or could it just be a sudden influx of a sudden feeling?
I think that you might feel it suddenly. You could feel it suddenly, but I think that generally speaking, it's a build-up. I think that sometimes on an unconscious level or subconscious level, there are things that are going on that are probably not being addressed at the time, probably not deemed as significant enough to talk about. But then something might happen that might make you feel like, oh, goodness me, I can't do this. Right. And maybe to yourself or to the other person, it sounds like, oh, where's this come from all of a sudden? But, if you really delve into it, if you really kind of unpack it, you might realize that there were subtle signs along the way for a period of time. So, there's the one-off event that could be something that's distressing or negative or not pleasant, that you think, okay, well, let's talk about it. Let's see if we can resolve it. And that's contained within that particular thing. But when we talk about I'm tired of this, this is draining, this is making me feel fatigued, that normally is something that, if we look closely, there's normally more to it than just a sudden incident.
So can being tired of your spouse ever be a good thing? Because when I hear that, I think of something negative, a negative situation, because you said it could be some things that were not being addressed. So we're talking about, we're getting into the the realms of there's a problem, there's an issue, there's a something that's going on. Can it ever be a good thing? I know Paul wanted to say something, but is that if there's a quick yes or no for that, then we can park that and then take Paul's point, or we can even come back to it.
Let's come back to it. I'm interested in what Paul has to say.
Okay. Thank you for giving me the time. Is it because we are people of faith or of a particular faith that we are afraid to say, I've fallen out of love with this person and I don't want to be with them anymore? I'm tired of the relationship and how it's gone on. Is it because we are people of faith and you circulate around church circles with church people that we are actually afraid or possibly ashamed to say, I don't actually want to be with this person anymore?
But does tired mean done? Because I think there's two different things.
Yeah.
Because, like, I'm tired of my job. Yeah, I'm tired of my job. Yeah, but guess what? Every single day,
You're there.
I am by
Job.
my desk. I am
And
doing
mortgage has to pay.
and I'm doing what I'm doing because I guess there's also that element in terms of if I had unlimited amount of funds in the bank and I was tired of my job,
Yes.
would I then at that point then say, well, actually, I don't need to do this because I don't need you, therefore I'll go away from I'll then walk away from it? Or is it because I have a need for it as to why I keep turning up? But I just feel it's a little bit different when you come to a marriage because I feel like even with parenting, I think you can be tired of being a parent. I think you can, doesn't mean you love your child any less. Or I think you have moments where you're just fed up of maybe being the bank of mom or dad or being the Uber that takes them everywhere. But as much as you're tired of being the Uber, you know the last thing you will do is put them in an Uber because you would prefer to be the one to pick them up. So I think so I think what in terms of what you said, Mark, in terms of it being a negative thing, I think it doesn't mean cause I'm tired I'm done. I think it cause I'm tired it means there's something that needs fixing.
Absolutely. I mean, I agree. And to answer Mark's
Well, agreeing.
question, it doesn't have to be, good or bad. It just is. The feelings that we have, the emotions that we have are not necessarily good or bad, but what we do with them can be good and can be bad. And so when we're tired, it's just a state of maybe a number of emotions that we're experiencing or a number of experiences that we've had, right? And, our body, our mind, our psyche, everything about our being is saying to us, listen, there's something here that needs to be addressed. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing that you're tired or it's a good thing that you're tired, but what you do as a consequence of being tired could have negative or positive consequences.
Okay, so Paul has a question, and I'm gonna throw a question out, and then we're gonna go to Paul. So just to think about this: is tiredness a choice issue? So is it that you're choosing the time? Are you choosing it, or can you not choose it? Yeah. Sorry, Paul. Over to you.
Okay, so Alison, thank you for that. My thought is, it doesn't always work, and sometimes we make mistakes, and that mistake might have started off as a perfectly beautiful relationship, and then you're a little way down the line and you recognize actually we don't have that much in common, and we think differently, we behave differently, and whatever. So this is not me being tired
Right.
or the other person being tired. This is me saying I made a mistake. Is it that as people of faith we're not supposed to feel that way or think that way or behave that way? Is it that once you're in, you made your bed, lie in it?
Okay.
Let me just say this. I
Yeah.
think there are two different questions.
Yes.
I think there are two different questions, and it's a very valid question that you're raising. But I think, and that's why to answer Charlie's question, I answer that with a no, that it's not a choice. Because Paul's saying, suppose you get into a relationship, you realize after you've got into it that you're both people of faith, you've gotten into this relationship, and you realize it's not working. Is it the honorable thing to then move on and get out? Or do we think that because we are locked into a faith organization that we hang on in there for dear life? Which is a very valid question that can be addressed. But I don't think that's the same as being tired of your spouse or in your relationship. That is, I just made a mistake, man. I need to go. Now, you could use the words, I'm tired of this, I'm out.
Yeah.
But you're not actually tired. Okay, I've got a little thing here that says, tired in your relationship with your spouse is being disappointed, emotionally drained. And I like, that's what, in all the definitions type things that I found, I like that, because that means that you've worked, you've tried, you've loved, you've nurtured, you've cuddled, you've everything else, and there's just nothing left. So that, which is why I'd say no to, is it a choice? Because you can't do anything about the fact that you're tired.
So if it's something like, I'm tired of the fact that every time you take off your belt, you put it over the chair instead of hanging it in the cupboard. Yeah. So I'm tired of that. Can I not choose to not? But I think it almost feels like we need to define what tired is.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I think there's certain things that maybe fall in the tired category,
Yeah.
and there's other things that are definitely tired, and then other things that could potentially be tired, but it's not actually the definition of what
Yeah.
if you're tired of your spouses. And I think, going back to what I had said before, being tired of something or someone doesn't necessarily mean that you want them gone, or you want it means that it's a exposure of a need that
Yes.
needs that you then have a choice to decide whether you're going to fix it or whether you're just going to let it fester.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, and I think yes. So in the context, I think there are many definitions for tired, and I suppose what we need to do is establish, when we say tired, what is it that we're referring to? Because yeah, me leaving my dirty laundry on the floor, as opposed to putting them in the laundry basket, is not. You might be tired of that.
Yeah.
Tired of telling me, look, don't leave your dirty laundry on the floor. But that's not what, when I think of tired of my spouse, that's not the emotion I'm thinking. I'm thinking of emotionally drained, working to make this thing work. Now, Charlie might say she's emotionally drained because my underwear are all over the floor. But so in that sense, when I'm thinking of it, and you guys say if you're thinking in a different sense, I'm thinking of tired of my spouse is that I want it, she wants it, we're working on it, it's not working, and it's draining me emotionally. I'm just at my wit's end. That's the tired I'm thinking of.
So can I just pause for a commercial break?
Oh,
Just
God.
say our WhatsApp number is 07459 642 898 if you want to be part of our conversation. 07459 642 898.
Yeah.
Our
Or
email address
go on.
is studio@adventisradio.london, studio@adventisradio.london. We're also live on YouTube and on Instagram. And one last thing you forgot to do, as Alison is not just beautiful by name, She is also beautiful by what she carries, some of the roles that she plays. And we didn't even get an introduction into to why she's our guest this evening.
I thought she was just a guest this evening because she was beautiful.
Well, she is.
No, I thought that was the reason why she was our
She
guest.
is.
That was the reason.
We always have beautiful people, and we need to bounce off each other.
Yeah, well,
We glow around our guests.
This is what I thought. But clearly there is more.
However,
Yeah, clearly there is more.
in her Gucci handbag, she
Okay.
carries.
The one I'm gonna come collect from you, Shelley.
I know the young people do this these days. Tell us a little bit about what you do, and you're an author. We need to hear about your books as well.
Okay. Oh, so I, by profession, am a psychotherapist. I have a private practice and I'm a clinical supervisor and I'm a tutor of counseling. So yeah, I love working with people and just really educating and seeing people, grow to their full potential. I love writing as well. So I've authored 3 books. The latest, which is you can find at Stambro Press, is called Dejected or Redirected. And that's looking at rejection, psychology of rejection, and how we can not only overcome but really thrive in the face of doors that are shut in our faces. So Dejected or Redirected, have a look. It's at Stambro Press. The other 2 are on Amazon, Relating for Success, and the other one is Relationship, Unique Boundaries of Effectiveness for Fulfillment and Success.
Oh,
Okay.
oh, oh.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
So I think you knew that, didn't you? I think you knew that.
Me?
I think you knew that. That's why you said she needs to tell us what she does.
Well,
Because you knew that there was an awful lot coming.
Well, I think it's important in this conversation
I
that
think
people
it's important.
that people realize that who we have at our table eating.
And I think that's very good. I think that's wonderful.
And it's lovely to dine with you as well this evening.
Even though there was not too much in our baskets collectively, but we will go with you and your expertise. So that was my definition for tired. So can we speak around that, or is there something you want to add or change or to that definition? I think for the purpose of tonight, is that a decent definition?
Yeah.
Is that, Charlie, go on, do you think?
So if can I just say a couple scenarios and you tell me
Of
tiredness
tired.
and
Yeah,
tell
go
me
on
if
then.
that's tiredness.
Go on
yeah?
then, go on.
So a wife has asked for help repeatedly, nothing changes.
Oh, like around the house, you mean, like that?
For help. Let's say around the house
Okay,
then. Yeah. Nothing changes. So she's asking for the wall to be painted. Yeah, nothing changes. She stops asking, she becomes tired. Are we okay with that as a thing of becoming tired?
That's tired of asking. That's not tired of your marriage.
Well, I mean, there's normally it's so what we talk about, what we're talking about so far is very like what's happening in the here and now,
Yeah.
right? So we're looking at it very much from very much a surface level. But the reason why I said there's obviously other things at play, possibly things that have been going on for a period of time, and there's a lot more to it. So for one person, that scenario, Shali, that you've just described could be, nothing, not a big deal, quite trivial. For another person, their interpretation of that could be quite deep and quite big.
Yeah.
And quite, do you see what I'm saying? And I think it was Paul who said, people have come from different backgrounds, different exposures, different experiences, and we bring different belief systems to our relationships, different perceptions, and the impact that one thing's going to have on one person in a relationship might be totally different to another person in their relationship. So, we can't, it's not a blanket approach. We have to understand where each person is coming from, what their complaint is, and what it means to them, how they perceive it, how they interpret it. So for one person, that could be emotionally draining. For another person, that could be just an issue that they need to have some effective communication around and resolve.
And I
What?
think sorry, just quickly, just a point, and then hold your point. Is that, and I think that it's good to acknowledge at this point that all of those situations are valid.
Yeah.
They're all valid. It's not like all you're complaining about is the fact that I haven't painted the wall, therefore you're not really tired. I suppose it's right to acknowledge that in each situation, they're valid. I wouldn't say excuses, valid examples of being tired.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
but I don't know in mine. And tell me if you think this is not in alignment with what you're thinking. But I think tiredness is also a combination of things.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's not just you didn't paint the wall.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the fact that you're not doing the things that I have expected of you to do.
Yeah.
And painting the wall is
Is one of
so
them.
maybe
One of
you
them.
and you don't pick your shoes up
Yes,
and you don't da, da, da,
absolutely.
da, and you don't whatever not. But I think it's not just a single action.
Yeah.
It's a combination of whether it's similar things in that same group or different things that you then pull together, and that in itself is the weight that makes you tired.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
yeah,
so
no,
there's a
very much
theme.
so.
There's a theme that, an individual or some sort of generalization. So they kind of, well, today is your shoes, tomorrow is the painting of the wall, the next day. So the general theme is that I'm tired because you're not taking me seriously. You're not listening to me. That's our brains tend to summarize things, come up with conclusions, and that's then what we hyper focus on, which is, oh, this is the general theme. Because I think, when if you imagine when you've just met each other and you're quite young in your relationship, and it's, you're very much kind of butterflies in your stomach, those things don't, you might say, oh, can you paint the wall? And they say, oh, sorry, we couldn't do it, and that's not really an issue. But after a period of time, it becomes an issue
Yeah.
because you come up with a generalization of how you perceive that person behaving in the relationship, which is not positive, and so you get tired of it. And so, yeah, I think it's going back to Mark's definition, is that enduring kind of emotional
Draining.
fatigue,
Yeah.
draining.
Ooh, I was just about to say that.
Emotional fatigue. Emotional fatigue. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because it says here you could feel emotionally exhausted, and it makes the point that you made right at the beginning. It says that doesn't mean that you no longer love them or that your marriage is beyond hope. So that's a good platform, I think, for those of faith, that to admit, as Paul said earlier, can we admit these things? That
Yes, please.
to admit. Sorry, just cooling us down there. So to admit that you are tired is not necessarily a bad thing to admit it, in that what you're saying is that you need intervention and you need help. You need intervention and you need help.
So, question: how does unspoken disappointment turn into resentment?
How does unspoken disappointment turn into resentment? I
Because
would go on, Alison.
I mean, it obviously you have disappointment is not a great emotion to experience, right? And it doesn't just go away, right? Some of these challenging emotions, something that Paul said, which was quite interesting. He was asking a question around, is it that we shouldn't feel this way? We shouldn't. And sometimes we have all of these rules that we want to comply with. Because I'm a Christian, because I'm a believer, I shouldn't feel tired. I shouldn't feel disappointed. I mean, who says? I mean, we have all of these emotions. God made us as emotional beings. And as much as we have the kind of positive emotions like happiness and joy, and we also have challenging emotions. Those are all part of life. So when we feel disappointed and we don't communicate that, there's no effective communication, those feelings of disappointment don't just disappear because we've decided not to talk about them, they will remain inside of us and they'll fester. And then next time we feel, we get disappointed again, we feel bad again, we feel negative again, and then it builds up and becomes resentment. And eventually you explode, you behave inappropriately in a situation because you have a collection of these negative emotions. So disappointment will surely lead to resentment, right? And sometimes people are wired to that the reason that, there's a lot of depth that we can look at, because sometimes people are wired to not express how they feel. Sometimes people are wired to please other people. We all grow up with different ways of perceiving relationships. We all have different relational templates, and we want to feel good in our relationships, and sometimes that means making too many compromises, right? And the person who eventually gets tired sometimes is the person who gives too much in the relationship to please the other person, to avoid a level of anxiety. And when relationship should be give and take, should be both ways. And when you're not receiving anything near what you're giving, of course you're going to be resentful.
Yeah,
because you don't feel valued in that relationship.
But that okay. So I'm experiencing disappointment in my relationship, and it's the hardest thing to express the disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
And it might not necessarily be, I might not be sort of, well, actually, if I was sort of a guy that was physically abusive, it probably wouldn't be so hard. I was going to say, it might not be that I don't want to be physically abusive, but if I was physically abusive, I wouldn't care. I'd just express my disappointment. But because I'm not physically abusive, or I wouldn't want to be physically abusive, I then think, I don't want the expression of my disappointment to escalate into a row.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I'm disappointed,
Yes.
but I'll just hold it down because, it's just, she just didn't paint the wall as she said she was going to. She didn't do this. She didn't, change the oil in the car. She didn't vacuum the house. She never does. Whatever it might be, she didn't put petrol in the car. Whatever the expectation is.
Sorry, all these things are things that he should be doing. But anyway.
Exactly.
I'm not saying anything. I'm not. That's not our show.
0745 964 2898. That's 0745
What is he here for?
964 28.
What is he here
What do you
for?
think I married him for?
That's
why I'm tired.
That's
That's
why
why
I'm tired.
That's what Paul says. That's why I'm tired. But
Yeah.
but in a serious note.
I am being serious.
Oh dear, you want to get something to be tired for?
Sounds so familiar.
But I might just find it so difficult to express my disappointment because I don't want it to escalate. Because you're going to get defensive, Charlie. If I start to say to you, Charlie, I'm actually quite disappointed in the fact that these expectations that I had, maybe we didn't talk about them before we got married, or maybe we did. I'm not sure. But all I know is that at this point, I'm disappointed, and I don't want to raise them. So how do you navigate that? Because
I think
I don't want to raise them. I don't want to fight. Go on.
I think there's two things, and I'm going to say hello to some of our viewers on YouTube in a second. But I think there's two things here, because I think there's an expectation that you should and really should set at the beginning of a relationship in terms of, and I know you change over the years, and people, and where you start, and especially if you marry or come together young, the person that you are and you start off as a young person is not necessarily the person you're going to be when you hit your 40s, based on life. And hopefully you grow together, but sometimes you don't. So I think there's that issue, and there's another issue in terms of, right, so we've gotten married, we may or may not have had the conversations, but now we're 40 something looking at each other and you're tired. And I think there's two different, because I think if you're starting out in the journey of dating and everything else, there's so much there's so much literature and podcasts and everything that speaks about some of the things. There's so many checklists and, you know what I mean, are we speaking the same love language and all these kind of things that where you can look at in terms of,
That didn't happen in my day.
that's what I'm saying to you, but
It's the truth. It's the
but
truth.
there's so many things now that you can look at and you can communicate and you can ask the question like, so how much money do you have in your savings, or do you save, or do you know what I mean, or in the evenings, or what's your no, but also, you know what I mean, and also you have to ask questions. What's your sexual expectations as well? There's certain things you need to ask at the beginning of a relationship where people don't have these conversations, and then they get married, and then the wife decides, no, we only come together once a fortnight
Hold on,
because
but Alison, that's not practical, is it?
It is practical.
That's not practical. That's not practical.
Listen, you
Hi,
know,
my name's Mark. What's your sexual
no,
expectations?
no,
I
I'm in a
mean,
relationship. Come on.
of course
That is
not,
a relationship.
not
I am
in
Mark is a relationship.
not in that way, Mark. But I think that Charlie raises a really, really important point because, you know, people meet and people fall in love, apparently. And that's good. It's good to have the chemistry. It's good to have like the physical attraction for each other. That's amazing. That's fantastic. But there's way more in a marriage relationship, in a lifetime relationship, than that butterflies in the stomach. And one of the things that is really important is that we remember that we carry baggage with us when we go into any relationship. And so our beliefs about relationships, so even though we can all say we're all Christians, we believe in Christ and we believe in God and we believe in marriage, our perceptions of marriage and our beliefs about marriage could be very different, right? And so, yes, we could say, yeah, do not be unequally yoked. That's fine. But I've come from a background where, you know, for the most part, a lot of marriages have failed. And you've come from a background where, for the most part, a lot of the marriages you've seen, a lot of your aunties, uncles, grandparents, parents stay together for a long time in their marriages. So what we believe about marriage could be very different based on culture, based on our own experiences. We could even talk about, you know, we should be committed in a relationship, we should have trust and all of this, we should have respect. But those things could look very different to each person.
Yes, yes.
So we have to break it down. And so when we start to get, and by the way, this is what premarital counseling is supposed to be addressing. So what do you understand by marriage? What do you understand by commitment? What's your version of commitment? Let me hear it. What's your version of commitment? And we might start to realize that how we define these things like commitment, respect, and all of these things might be subtly different depending on our backgrounds or on our experiences. So what needs to happen is that these two people have to come together and form their own unique identity in that relationship. So when we have conflict, how are we going to deal with it? Are we going to go, is one person going to want to resolve it immediately and then the other person doesn't want to talk about it for days? Or what's going to happen? Because maybe how you grew up, Shirley, that's how it happened. There was silence. And how you grew up, Mark, there was like, let's sort it out immediately. And there will be a clash. Whether or not you believe in God, there will be a clash when practically you have a conflict and you don't have an understanding. So some of those things, managing third parties outside of your marriage or outside of the relationship, how are we going to deal with that? Managing finances, you know, talking about parenting if we have to, you know, talking about work and, you know, commitment to work. Those things have to be defined because you need to know where it's almost like you have your blueprint or your, I don't know, terms of reference for your relationship. So when you have this situation where something happens, you know that, okay, this is what we agree. We have a code name for when to stop talking. We take 2 hours apart, give ourselves time to regulate, and then come back and talk about it. We don't go like for days without, you know, having a discussion, but we don't kind of pounce on each other and try to resolve it immediately. So you need to understand what you're doing in that relationship when important issues come up. And, you know, we laugh about it, but these things don't happen. And so we come into the relationship with different mindsets, different beliefs, different perceptions, different understandings. And when something happens, we are going in different directions in terms of how do we resolve it. And that's where the tiredness comes in, because expectations are different.
But
And if you can't communicate effectively, then
but
that's an
yeah,
additional layer of problem.
I've got the top of my list here. How do people become tired? And the top of the list is poor communication. But just on your point, I mean, your point sounded very good, but they sounded very academic to me. It feels almost like I'm going into some transactional business with you. So I mean,
Because it is.
Charlie and my eyes meet across a crowded room. All right.
Once the blue moon.
Our eyes meet across a crowded room, right? And
Yeah.
there's music playing, and
Yeah.
there's
Sounds
smoke.
good.
There's music playing. There's smoke in the air. You know, I
Smoking?
invite. Yeah, there's smoke. No, there is smoke in the
Oh,
air.
smoke in the air.
There is smoke in the air. No, we're not smoking. We're cooler than that. There's smoke in the air. You know, I slide across the floor, and I say to Charlie, you know, hi, how you doing? I'm Mark. Can I get you a drink? And she starts to ask me about how I resolve conflict in a marriage.
No.
She asked me all these sorts of things.
No.
It just seems
Listen,
to
no.
how much is in my bank account.
No. But you have to remember, yeah. Past the flutters. So you do your flutter, you do your conversation, but then at some point, you are taking me for dinner, and when we have dinner, that's when you start teasing.
You have a conversation.
As you start, because and I always say to people, when you go to places like the cinema, the theater, that's you can't get to know someone, because I can't stand people who talk through movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but then I can't stand, but it irritates me.
No, of course, of course.
When you're watching something,
Yeah.
So that's when you go for dinner. That's when you go for a walk in the park. That's when you go for a picnic. That's when you do little things. Coming to you, Paul. That's when you do all these little things. And actually, as you're doing these things, you're taking note. As you go to the shop, and you know what I mean, you know, as a lady, you do your reach in your purse, and then he says, no, I've got this, and you think, okay, so then the next time you get it. Or if you see that, you know what I mean, he sees you jingling around your pocket, and then he puts his hand in his pocket and turns away, because you learn things. You have to. Yes, listen, nothing worse than a tight man. Lord have his mercy. Lord have his mercy. But it's the moments when you learn things from each other, and you learn it, and then you ask each other the questions. And I'm not saying that is a fail safe. So you definitely, because you've asked all the questions, it doesn't mean that you're necessarily because as you said, your two families brought up very different, coming together, and when you come together, there's gonna be things, because conflict. So some people need, if we argue, I need to go and give me 2 days, and I'm not gonna talk to you for 2 days. And that some people like me, I can't do the silent treatment.
And for some people that's triggering. For some people that silent treatment is triggering. If you've been through any kind of like historical traumas where you've been punished with silence, that's very triggering, and that's going to cause a lot of problems. So I hear what you're saying, Mark, and absolutely the chemistry is really important. Enjoy that, butterfly in your stomach and all the rest of it, but beyond that, get to know the other person.
At some point, sit down and have a conversation.
Chemistries don't pay bills. Over to you, Paul.
There's an awful lot that's just been said.
Sorry.
And
that's the name of the game, isn't it?
It is. That is the ideal. All of the things that you've just said, all the things that Alison's just said, that's the ideal in conflict resolution, where you tease out the things that upset you, the things that would rub you up the wrong way, and if they're perpetuating, then at some point you're like, well, you've committed the unpardonable sin, and we're not going to go down this route anymore. But a lot of the time, that it's coming from different perspectives, and the ideal is that two people will be rational and will sit down and go through things in a rational way. But what if one person is rational, but the other person isn't? And they might not have started out like that, but over a period of time, that now happens. So where you have the silent treatment, and you've gone for 2 days without speaking, and you know, he says, have you noticed that we haven't spoken for the last 2 days? And you say yes. And so, well, what have you got to say for that? And she says, can I have 2 more days, please?
More silence.
Yeah, it's been brilliant, actually.
You know, we think about things in a particular way, and everything we've said so far has been the ideal for remedying whatever that conflict is, so that the two of you can travel at the same level onwards and really think about each other in such a respectful way that you're able to meet whatever those difficulties are. But very often that is not the case. And if I can go back to where I started on this, what if you've gotten to this point and you've realized that, you know what, I'm really sorry, but this was a mistake. I should never have committed myself to this thing. I've got all of this baggage that I've carried with me. You've got all of that baggage that has come with you. There's cultural differences. Alison was just talking about, you know, where you've got family that are very settled, aunties and uncles and everybody, they're married and long history of marriages together. And then you get one side of the family or one person that is just totally not that way. They're not coming from a stable background, right? So it's almost as if you're on a hide into nothing to start with, okay? So two people, they see each other, they're like madly head over heels, they've gone past, and then the honeymoon is over. And then reality hits in. What do you do?
Okay, well, let me say what I think here. I think the interesting things that I've heard so far this evening, and has led me to say this, is that I think I'm quite a dinosaur, and I think, Paul, you're my age, so which makes you a dinosaur too.
Well, can I just remind the listeners that I'm not?
555 555 9647.
Neither am I. Neither am I.
Just listeners,
It's no help for me.
yeah,
And so you look my age.
Yeah, I think we're in the same category.
the dinosaurs in the house as well. No, I think I very much identify with what Paul is. The point Paul is trying to shoehorn into.
I'm hearing it. I'm hearing it as well.
Because I get it. I get where he's at.
Yeah.
And I think for us, Paul, there's no hope. No. Because I see what he's saying, and I get it, and I get that place that he's talking about. Now, for all the things that we have been speaking about and becoming tired of spouse and what might happen and all this talk and have a chat about this and that and all the other all of this stuff that Charlie's talking about, I would well, no, I'm serious.
Whatever.
I'm serious. I would encourage my son to do all of that stuff. Right? I would encourage him to do all of that, because once you've gotten to be a dinosaur like Paul and a dinosaur like me, we realize that you're asking me what? I'd kick you to the curb for the fact that you're asking me, let alone sitting down and answering and having a discussion. But that's 40 years ago. So now we realize that, and we probably at that point would just take being tired of your spouse as not a natural course of events, but it happens, it doesn't happen, it happens, almost like a roll of the dice, and there's nothing you can do to mitigate. Whereas now, I would say to my son, there's so much you could do to mitigate by having these Charlie type conversations, right? So I kind of get that where the room is split on that. So I agree that these sorts of things are great and ideal. Paul saying, what if we never did that and we're at this place now? What I would say to Paul, what if we never did that in our day and we find ourselves now stuck in that? Well, you can look at it almost from a biblical point of view to say, and I know Charlie says, I don't know why your sheet says.
I really want to hear it. Let's hear
perspective.
this, Charlie. Let's listen.
From a biblical perspective, right? And she doesn't even.
I will lift my eyes.
No, from a biblical perspective, my notes point out that relationships move in seasons. There are usually the thing that is.
That is pretty deep for you, Mark.
Are you saying I'm shallow?
No, I didn't say that.
Hey, I'm a dinosaur. That doesn't mean I'm shallow.
But you drink from shallow water.
I'm a deep dinosaur. All right.
Okay, no problem, sir.
So and actually I read that on my notes. But I agree with it. Come on. I go to my notes. I find some notes that says that, and I think yes, that makes sense. Yeah. Marriage moves through seasons. There are times, even characters in the Bible that we look up to move through different seasons in their relationships. So I very well may come to a point where I'm tired of something, but as we started in the beginning, Charlie says that doesn't necessarily mean you're done. Paul's saying that if you really find that you're totally different ends of the scales, you might be done.
Yeah.
But if you have a biblical perspective, it's incumbent of you, even though you didn't do these things 40 years ago, and you find yourself tired now, to have a go and try and start to do them. Now, it's going to be a lot more difficult. Why is Alison laughing? I don't know what.
Can you see the person next to you?
My hand up.
She's
I haven't finished my sentence yet. Right now, you should try now. Now, what I would say, what my friends have told me, is that it's very difficult to do it as a dinosaur because of the baggage, not necessarily the baggage you brought to the relationship, but the baggage you've built up in the 40 years of the relationship.
It's a mixture.
So you the first thing you start and you say, I want to talk about how I feel. No, I want to talk about how you feel or however I feel or whatever about X, Y, Z. And the first response back is, oh, you want to talk about that now? I wanted to talk about that 25 years ago and you weren't interested. So immediately you've got yourself a little mini argument just on the fact that you want to talk about it as opposed to getting into talking about it. And so you get yourself, the dinosaurs get, Charlie's not having it, she wants to come in. Right, you get yourself stuck. So Paul said, how would you do? And I'm saying, I get what we're supposed to do at that point because we didn't do it 40 years ago. I don't know, you're going to have to read some of these comments, Charlie, because I'm looking down, all I'm seeing is laughing face. So I want to know who is laughing at me.
Oh, there's a dinosaur in the house with you.
Right, I get that. So I would say, if you're starting out on the road, do the whole Charlie tricks, right? All of those tricks, right? If you're down, if you're a dinosaur like me and you're already started on that road, it's going to be painful. But the point that they were making in my notes here was that even the people that you are not, I say looking to, but the examples that we have in the Bible went through these things. And if your idea or your ideal is to build your character or whatever, have an attempt at doing these same things now, which will be a lot more painful because we didn't do them 40 years ago. But
it might not necessarily be painful.
no,
right?
Trust me, Alison, it's painful.
You might actually enjoy it. It might be refreshing.
Trust me, you don't enjoy it. Charlie, you had your hand
Right.
up.
Okay. So let me read the comments. Let me.
Yeah,
Let me.
please.
I'm gonna read the comments. I'm gonna make my point, and I'm gonna hand it over to Alison because I know she's biting at the tail as well. Right. So Dawn is saying, "Hey, Mark, Charlie, Paul, Alison." Monica saying, "Good everyone. Big up to my big sister Alison."
Cool. Do you know who that is,
I
Alison?
think that's
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say yes. You know.
Yeah.
Good
Hey,
evening from.
Monique.
Good evening from Fiona. We have Dawn saying dinosaur in the house. I think you've got company with your dinosaurs,
no.
and then everyone is falling over laughing. I don't know why.
I don't know
Yeah.
why.
So anyway,
I don't know
so
why.
you know, I think going back to Paul's comment, and I think let's spend a little let's spend a moment here.
Yeah.
I think when you're tired, by the time you get to the point where you're done, there's also other emotions and elements that's in the basket. Yeah? And I think there comes a point where you have to decide whether are we going to move forward? Are we going to try and work on it? Are we going to try and fix this? Are we going to see if it's fixable? Or are we done? Now, there's some people who would prefer staying married because they like the status or whatever comes with being married over the shame and the everything else that it means of splitting up. And that's whether you have children, don't have children, have assets, don't have assets. Some people literally love the fact that people can say to them, "Oh yeah, it's a married, look at my ring." You know what I mean? They like the whole my husband, and even though they haven't seen their husband in years, but they still like to talk but each to their own, yeah. Couple of my notes says, do a relationship audit. What's working, what's draining, what's missing. Share the moment you realize you were tired.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
Share that with who?
with the person you're tired of. You know what? You know what? And I always.
Are you nuts?
No. You know what? One thing. There's not many positive things I can say out loud about my ex-husband. Yeah, but there's one thing I always share was the fact that when we first became in a relationship, he was very clear with me that he doesn't do arguments. And we spoke about this. He said, listen, if you do the whole, if you're one of those people who shout, scream, carry on, everything else, you'll find yourself in a room by yourself. I said, what do you mean? He says, I don't do it. He said, because I don't find them productive. What happens is people say things, they always regret what they've said, but they say it in the moment because all that's about is about hurting the person. And so you say whatever you're just to get the one person gets the last comment in, and then at the end of it, once you said it, when you make up, one person has that thing in their head going round and round.
Yeah.
So he was like, so guess what? So and it was refreshing the fact that our arguments used to be like, okay, but I don't like that. Well, what do you think? And what I found with that is when you're not getting angry and you know what I mean, it actually you're thinking straight because you're not trying to shout over the other person, talk over the other person, and everything else. But I just felt there was something about that moment, and that's something that I have adopted. And I guess it also depends the person that you're with, because also that person has to be receptive for it. So it's I missed the point I was making. I don't know where I came from, but anyway.
Sharing what you.
What if I told you?
Sharing.
The moment you realize, the moment you realize you were tired. Hold on 2 seconds. Okay, the moment you realize you were tired, yeah. So it's being able to acknowledge the moment where things changed. But that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
If you're having a conversation with someone, you can then say to them, you know what, that irritated me, and that has been irritating me, and this is why, because you're not shouting it.
Yeah.
And if you're having a conversation with someone and you're not slinging it at them, actually, they may be more receptive to have that conversation with you, because actually, you know what, but so, and also, if you're going to give, you have to also be able to receive. So if you're going to say, right, okay, let's have a conversation about the things that are working and not working for us, and they then say to you, well, actually, you sit down and you then say, well, I don't like this, I don't like that, I don't like the other. You have to also be receptive to that person then telling you about yourself, the things that they don't like either, without being defensive, without the same way you expect them to receive what you've given them. You should be able to receive that back too.
Yeah.
And I think that's the point I was making in terms of, but if you're doing it at a temperate level, you're able to have a conversation
Yeah.
with that person in that way. Two other things. What changed in your marriage that made you feel disconnected?
Right.
What do you wish your spouse understood about your tiredness? And what helps you reconnect? Because I think it's also that understanding of, just because you're tired of someone, it doesn't mean you can't reconnect back
Yeah.
with them.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But it has to be that mutual thing.
Yes.
But if you're in a place where actually mutually we don't respect each other, mutually we're not planning on going the same. If we're all, but then it's about, okay, so are we going to stay together? Are we going to be separated? Or if we're going to be separated, how are we safely going to separate? Because I think once you start having the negative feelings in it, it makes it difficult to do anything else.
Yeah.
No, I agree, and that's
I was
that's.
handing it over to Alison.
Oh, sorry.
No, speak, Mark. Please just please go ahead.
No, I don't want Charlie to get tired of me.
Too late.
Somehow I suspected she was going to say that.
But it's all right, we're staying together.
Somehow you expect that
Somehow.
she's already tired.
It's all right. But we're gonna stick at it.
She came to the relationship tired. But
Hey, that wasn't nice. I didn't come here tired.
no, tired of me. Tired of me.
It wore me down.
Oh dear. Oh dear. You see, I tried to give it to her. She still needs to stamp me down. Okay. No, and that's for me why that's the big. No, not difference. I was about to say that's the big difference, but that is not the difference. That is the connection between what Paul's saying and what you're saying, and because you go through. Let's not say things spiteful or say things angrily that you might regret. Now, for me, if and when my spouse or anybody, I mean, we're talking about tired of your spouses, but let's speak about relationships in general. The way I view it is that if someone I'm in a relationship says something very negative about me or personal about me, and it's true, that's what they feel, then I feel then they don't want to be with me because I am XYZ. If it's not true, then I don't want to be with them because I don't want to be with someone that is willing to say something that they don't even believe, but they just want to say something spiteful to me to win an argument. So that's why I agree with your husband.
Ex-husband.
Yeah, but he was your husband, or whatever. I know you've got to get, we know it's your ex-husband, Charlie, it's fine. Yeah, but your ex-husband then, I agree with his stance.
I feel like the woman at the well, when you make a comment like that.
Well, this is it. I said your husband, not good enough. I said your ex-husband now is not good enough. Right. So, but that's why I agree. I agree with his stance. Let's not argue when we're both heated. Let's leave it. Let's leave it until such time. Because in the argument, when you're going to start throwing out, and I always knew about you, and my mother told me 30 years ago what you were really like. I mean, when we've made up, I still remember what you said your mother said. Now, if your mother was truthful, if she said it was true, then I don't want to be with you. If she lied, I don't want to be with you. So there's no win in that. There's no win. So this is why I agree with all of these things you're saying that we should talk about at the beginning. And I accept what Paul's saying, but no, we never ever talked about things like that at the beginning back then. And that's why I say now, if we're talking about I'm tired, but I want to navigate through it because of, and I don't even want to go into because I'm ashamed of what the church says. Who cares what the church thinks? It's me having lived with you. I'm not bothered about that. I'm more bothered about, I still have a sense of this was a union that we, whether we got married in a church or a registry office, we intended to fight through this thick or thin. So we might fight and lose the battle, but at least I'm tired and I want to try and navigate my way through it. Therefore I want to talk about these things. But the talking about them, what I've found, what my friend said, is that what happens is that you get to, I want to talk about these sorts of issues that we were listing out at the beginning, and it's, you want to talk about them now. But we've had this issue for 10 years. And we had this issue so we can't actually get to talk about the issue because now we're arguing about the stance that we had 30 years ago as opposed to the issue. Well, why did you have that stance? And how do you then defend that stance that you had 30 years ago? You know, you've grown, you've learned about all of Charlie's tricks. I mean,
I think one of the things that we kind of need to consider in that situation is the level of commitment that both people have to making it work, right? So you will have a certain mindset if you go into kind of resolution mode with 8 out of 10 commitment, 10 being I'm very committed, 0 being I'm not committed. And if the other person goes in with 2 out of 10, you're not on the same wavelength, then you're going to have those types of discussions where one person's going to go, oh, you want to talk about it now? I wanted to talk about it 30 years ago. But if you're both at 8, then you will have a mindset that's going to overlook and going to understand that 30 years ago is a long time and we've both grown and changed in that time. So I think it's gauging the temperature for each person and trying to figure out, okay, you know, are we on the same page? Is the level of commitment to making this work, is it the same for both of us? Because there's no point if you've got totally different points of focus, there's no point even going there.
Having the conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's a good one, isn't it? That's an interesting one because you've gone through the wars, you're dinosaurs or you're not, you're newbies, whatever it is, you've found that you're tired, but if at that point you don't agree or you're not on the same commitment level, then there's no point because everything you do is going to be wrong because I'm just not committed. I'm not committed. So we have
I don't want to commit because I think the thing is, you get to a point where it's almost like you're at the ledge. Yeah, and it's either you're gonna look down or you're gonna step back. And I think you both have to, because what can't happen, because you have to remember, you have a rope tied to each other. So it's not like one person can look down and one person can step back. You have to do it together because if you don't do it together, it's gonna be a catastrophe.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to have that hard conversation, and some of that hard conversation may mean that, well, we're not going to talk about not that we can't talk about certain things, but actually, so you have a need to talk about this. I don't want to talk about this. How do we get ourselves into a middle ground where we can draw a line under it and we both feel satisfied enough to move on from it?
Yeah, but that's a conversation.
But that's
that's a conversation.
But that's a tricky conversation.
It's a tricky conversation, and it's a real conversation.
But this is where the biblical perspective comes in. This is where, you know, what are your values? Ultimately, what are your values, right? Are they based on kind of like biblical teachings or perspective? Are they based on, you know, cultural, traditional, you know, what do your values, what direction are your values pointing you towards?
Yes.
Relationships really you know, relationships are not selfish. It's not just about me. Relationships are about the other person. So if I'm thinking, Mark, you know, I care about, you know, how you feel. I care about how things impact on you. And you're thinking, oh, Alison, I care about how things, if we're thinking about the other person's best interest and well-being, that exchange there, that selfless exchange is going to mean that we will cater for each other in that process. And yes, it might be challenging at times, it might be difficult at times. There might be truths that we have to hear that might be difficult, but we will say it in love. We will say it with an attitude that's going to help the other person grow. Because if you're not growing in a relationship, there's no point being there. Both people have to grow. You have to come with a level of mutual respect. You have to come with humility, right? And when we talk about marriages, when we talk about relationships, what are we thinking of? Are we just thinking of our own motivations, like financial, like societal, like cultural, like status? Or are we thinking this is a sacred covenant relationship where each person's going to grow and each person's going to be a better version of themselves as a result of being in this relationship? So, the kind of, again, going back to the beliefs about marriage, the beliefs about relationship, that's really important. And then the commitment that you both come into to try and resolve your issue. And what's the motivation for wanting to resolve issues? And so it's attitudes. What sort of attitude are you taking into this space of resolution when you have when you're saying you're tired? If I'm saying I'm tired, I'm expecting my spouse to have some level of empathy, to stop and listen and say, oh my goodness, I'm sorry to hear that. He might not think there's, the reasons I'm giving for being tired are good enough or strong enough, but if he cares about me, he's going to stop and listen and empathize with me, right? And if I care about him, the same thing's going to happen the other way around. And that's the beauty of relationships. And you might not notice that you're starting to feel a certain way. It might dawn upon you when something else triggers something, and then you connect the dots, and then you realize, oh, actually, I am quite, this thing was festering. I am actually feeling quite tired. But effective communication, not just communication, because the silent treatment is communication and it's poor communication, but effective communication will allow the two people to sit down and to be able to talk about it like civil people, and to be able to show some care. It's not just about, oh, what about when you did this to me? And I'm going to bring in the kitchen sink, by the way. I'm going to talk about all of those other things that you did on the back of just this one thing that's just happened. So it's about the other person. It's about caring for the other person. And the Bible offers an example with Christ and the church, the relationship that Christ has with his church. And if we study that relationship very closely, we might realize that a lot of what we call marriage are not actually marriages from a biblical perspective.
Yeah, that's a good one. There's a question I want to ask you, Alison, is that I've very much got now that if we're not at the same level or of commitment, if we're not both eights or whatever, if I'm an 8 and she's a 4,
Mhm.
what are the things that I can put in place or we can put in place to get us both to the same level? Because if we're not at the same level of commitment, what I see is that almost every effort that is made could be treated with disdain
Mhm.
or dismissed.
Yeah,
Because your level is not my level. Now
yeah.
we're acknowledging that levels won't or can very well not be the same.
Mhm.
But what can I do to get our levels to the same?
I think really at that point, it's important to get, I would say, get some help. I would say get somebody who is qualified to mediate, to help, where you can both sit in the same space and be afforded the same level of respect, so that you're not kind of like talking over each other or fighting each other. Somebody who can mediate, somebody who can help both of you to communicate. Because what we want to understand, so if you're 4 and I'm 8, I want somebody to advocate. I want somebody to say, Mark, what's it going to take for you to go from a 4 to a 6 to an 8, right? And it's in investigating, it's in trying to figure out where the shortfalls are that we can start to have a conversation, because people need to feel seen, people need to feel heard. And part of the reason why we have these problems is because, people don't feel valued. If you don't feel valued, you don't feel seen, or you don't feel heard, or both. And so when you have a safe space, a safe environment where both people can feel validated, can have empathy, can feel heard, then people start to open up, people start to relax, people start to want to go from survival mode to solutions mode.
Right. That's a good one. I think that's a good one, and that won't necessarily happen overnight.
No.
But that's the route. If we're at different levels of commitment, but we haven't said we're done, it you need some form of intervention, of mediation. Also, is that comment? You got a comment there? I'm watching your screen move.
A lot of what we call marriages are not marriages by biblical standards. Mercy, sister.
Oh, that's
Mic drop.
Yes,
And then in it, in it, behind that. No. But the thing about it, and this is a non-judgmental comment. Sometimes you look around, and I'll always remember traveling to church one Sabbath, and being in the car and seeing a couple behind arguing like hard, seething, arguing hard in the car all the way to church. And then as we pulled up inside in church, and they came out the car and they started to hold hands like nothing. And I know different facets for different folks, but they were more worried that people would think that there was an issue.
Yeah.
They had to give the impression, and I'm not saying that you need to let everybody in your business, but actually they were more prepared. They were prepared to put that on ice,
Yeah.
to seem united, than to just be and sort out whatever and I don't know what the issue was, because I couldn't hear from the car, but
Yeah.
it was evident that they were having an argument on the way to church. And when you look at the facets, when you look across the congregation and you see the different types, because there's not everyone that you look at church, do you think when I grow up I want to be like them?
Yeah.
I can think of some marriages that I have around me, and I look at them and my heart is warmed, because that's the old school type of love. You can see, you know what I mean? You can see he loves her, you can see she loves, but that doesn't mean, and they will tell you, that doesn't mean they don't argue, it doesn't mean they don't fall out, it doesn't mean they don't have disagreements, it doesn't mean any of it. All it means is that they've made a choice that they're forever ever. They also have a friendship. They also have, and I think that's something that I think is also very important, because in a marriage, when you fall out of love with someone, you may still like them, and because you like them, that will help you fall back in love with them again. And it's having that friendship and that togetherness and whatever not, and that respect for each other, that just keeps the wheels turning and everything lovely. Paul, you've had your hand up. Sorry.
I have, yes. One of the most beautiful relationships I've ever seen in my life was someone that I went to school with. His name was Noel Thompson. Had a mum and dad. They were just so beautiful together. I mean, these were senior people, you know, and they weren't church people. They went to church. Births, deaths, marriages. That was it. That was the only time they ever went to church. But they were so loving, and they worked together. And I dare say that they would have had their ups and downs and things, but faith wasn't a part of it. We have faith, and we can't make it work.
Well, you see, the thing is, I would say that your friends' parents had the same level of commitment. So whether we are churched or unchurched, the because that's what I was hearing from the very beginning, that the difficulty to get these conversations in,
Yeah.
if you don't almost get them in a teen, you know, when they're still babes,
Yeah.
have these conversations, you know, if you don't get them in early doors,
Right.
how do you get them in afterwards when you had a bit of ups and downs and rough?
Agreed.
And then so if you can only get them in safely
Yes.
if you're on the same level of commitment.
Right. Can I then say, and thank you for that, Mark, I agree with you. I agree with you. Can I then say, what may have happened in the past with any kind of guidance and counselling for young people, even not necessarily dating, but wanting to have a life partner, some guidance and counselling has to be brought back again. Because in the world that we are living in now, it's a terrible place.
But
right?
was there ever this guidance?
There was, yes. And furthermore, you know, when two people do get together and they're talking about getting married and they go to you know, that
Marriage counselling.
marriage counselling or whatever, it has to be comprehensive, Mark. It's not going to be like this little 6-week thing and you're going to in there
Yeah.
for an hour or two, and then after 6 weeks you've gone ahead and got married. You can't possibly cross all the gambit of things that you're going to go through. There has to be a commitment and intentional behavior on our part to make sure, even our children or whatever, you know,
Yeah.
some guidance, something to hand on to them, even when we have made mistakes.
But
Even when we have made mistakes, and I can then counsel my children and say, look, I made this mistake. Don't fall into the same trap that I fell into, because I want you to succeed and whatever. How much of that do we do?
counseling, guidance, and all of these things, whether it's in a therapeutic environment with a therapist or whether it's one-to-one peer mentoring, only works when you're honest. And I think some
Yeah.
people forget, because there are people
Yeah.
who go to therapists, relationship therapists, and they say what the other person wants them to say, or they say just because their goal, they're looking at the wrong thing. So
So what are they looking at that makes them say?
different things. So I want to
they
get
go to
married.
get
I want to
things
get
off their
married
chest.
to you. I know. I mean, sometimes they have the. You know what I mean? Your people get fascinated with the dress
Yes.
and the day and the everything else. So literally, they're ticking this box of going through the marriage counseling stuff,
Yeah.
just because maybe they never thought they would get married. They'll never thought they would have whatever not, or they meet a man, and this man has zeros in his bank account that they've never seen before. And because of that, then guess what? Yes, all of these things about you, I can live with. Listen,
I think you know, you make really important points there. I do counseling for couples, and sometimes not every couple is suitable for counseling for other reasons. Sometimes, you know, people who are emotionally abusive or in toxic relationships shouldn't really be in a counseling situation, because there can be a lot of manipulation going on that's going to be more damaging. But also, you know, I do try to say that, you know, obviously there are three people in this, that I've got three clients. I've got two of you, and then the relationship is the other client. And, you know, there's a disclaimer here, which is there's no guarantee that you're going to end up together at the end of this process. This process might mean that you discover things about yourselves that mean that you don't want to be together, right? So I think that marriage counseling or premarital counseling shouldn't be glossing over and ticking boxes. It should really be, let's look at your background. Let's look at your background. Let's look at the traumas in your background. Let's look at the breakups let's look at your perception, your beliefs about marriage. Let's understand where you're coming from. Do you have trust issues? Do you have problems with commitment? Let's understand some of the issues that you find challenging that you've had to deal with. How might those impact on your responses in your marriage, in your relationship? We have to look at all of those things. And one person might say, actually, I don't want to, when I have a problem, I don't want to have to be talking about it, for the next 2 days. And the other person might say, actually, no, I can't deal with that. And then you might decide, okay, let's talk about it. Can we find a middle ground? And if you can't, you might decide, I don't think that's my person. And that's okay. That's okay. But sometimes we're not honest and authentic. To Paul's point, authenticity is really, really important. And to your point, Charlie, I mean, the relationship therapist can only work with what you bring to the room. They're not psychic. They can't see what you're not telling them. So if you bring lies into the room, you're not going to get anything out of the counseling. It's just going to be a waste of money. So it's very important to be authentic. But also when we're talking to the younger generations, let's not make out like you say, while this couple, we never have arguments, we never have problems. Let's not make out like what the image of perfection, when actually, young people can actually see that, oh, there's all these aunties and uncles in the church with problems. So if we're not authentic, right, we're never going to be able to get to the bottom of it. We're just lying to ourselves. And eventually that's going to explode. That's going to be a bigger problem than if we were just really honest and say, you know what, I made this mistake when I was younger. I did this, I did that. I wish I hadn't. I'd rather you didn't make the same mistake, rather than make out like, oh, let's tell you all about this thing called marriage, and actually you're struggling in your own marriages. So I think we just have to be authentic.
Getting lots of emojis on YouTube.
Yeah.
Lots of emojis. Everyone's listening.
Everyone, they're listening, and they're with you all the way. I'm not sure. Well, actually, I'm not sure if actually they're with Alison or if they're with me. To be honest,
It must be you, Mark.
No, they're with me.
yeah, they're with Paul. They're with Paul.
No, it's Paul.
We all decided they're with us. They're with me. I don't know about anybody else. Okay. Go on.
Do you feel safe expressing your truths?
In the relationship or amongst friends?
But we're talking about. I think so.
Is
so
this
let's-
as a healing or or is this what got us to tired? Is this what?
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
when tired.
Well, you know what? We're talking about emotional safety
Yeah.
here, and I think it's a reflective question in terms of because we've spoken about safe spaces a lot in different ways. And I think if you are feeling safe expressing your truths, and that's something that's important, that if you find yourself in a place where actually someone's giving you something to eat and you can't say, oh goodness, I don't like it, or yes, because you like it, I like it too. Are you feeling safe? Are you feeling emotionally safe? And I think for me, a relationship should be a place of safety.
Yes.
Could
It
be.
should be a
Yes.
place
Yes, it
where
is, yes.
you can speak truths to each other about anything and feel safe enough to receive it and to give it.
Yes. So I have to, and this is why I say that of my age group, the difficulty that I see for my age group, the dinosaurs age, you got millennials and so is there one called dinosaur?
I haven't heard of it myself, but
That's how I know. I know that's what we are, but I don't. They might call it something else. They might call it Gen. I don't know.
Dust to dust.
Dust to dust to dust. I was at a funeral today, actually. That hit home. The dust to dust age. Yeah. But yeah, because I can really see that we're not the sticking point. I hear it. I mean, Paul mentioned earlier that we're talking about ideals, right? And we are. And I know in the past Paul said, well, that's the ideal. I say, yeah, but Paul, the whole point of the show, on previous shows, is how do we attain the ideal? So, but maybe tonight I'm a little bit stuck about how I'm going to attain that ideal. And I understand academically that we've got to get to the same level of commitment. I'm a 3, you're an 8. I'm a 4, you're an 8. We've got to work on climbing up to get to the same number. But if the dinosaurs never had all of these Charlie questions at the beginning of our relationship, how can I? Because then Charlie's talking about how safe we are, and we've got to be in this safe place, and all of those kind of nice, warm, fuzzy words. But how do I get to them where I can speak my truth, where I can be open and honest, where I can do all of that when what's coming back are the things that you mentioned earlier.
That's where you need to be there.
Yeah, the things that you mentioned earlier that. I'm just going to say this because I know it pushes your buttons. I'm going to say this because I know it hurts you. I'm going to say, or you're telling me this now. 15 years ago we had this problem, and you weren't willing to talk about it. And I'm still I know I want to get to the 8-8. But what you got? Here's a note I prepared earlier. She says, "How do I get to that 8-8?" Because I've got some things here that say biblically, and Charlie doesn't.
Hold on, let me use my dulcet tones to say this now. Yeah, emotional safety is created through soft tones, active listening, no interruptions, no belittling. Replace "what's wrong with you" with "help me understand." Lyrics.
Glory.
Followed by the guffaw.
I think that sometimes you've got to ask yourself the question, what's going on within me that might be stopping me, right? There's also a level of accountability. There's a level
But I
of
said the
self.
problem's not with me; it's with her.
Them.
Oh dear.
So you're the one who is 8, and they are.
Oh yeah. Oh, did I not make that clear?
So they are 4. So then it might be that you need to work. That there needs to be separate work that needs to get done, and sometimes that happens whereby in couples counseling, it gets to a point where the counselor has to work with each person individually and break down some of the walls, or address some of the internal blockages that might be going on for them, so that they can come back together and be able to communicate a bit more effectively. So that work needs to be done with that, because if the person's always bringing back this 15 years ago, there is something in there that needs to be looked at, right? And
that's brilliant, because when you said it earlier, and we need to get to the 4 to the 8, and we talked about we need to go to the counselling or the mediation, you said, and I'm still stuck. I'm still thinking, hold on. But yes, so we need the individual work first.
Yeah.
That's what we need. We need the individual work. Because I've got something here. I know, Charlie, plug your ears. It says, spend time with God. So you're tired of your spouse. You're not at the "I'm done" phase yet, but you're emotionally exhausted. And what do I do? Spend time with God. And when I read that to be a practical application, for a practical application, what I'm reading and what I'm hearing and thinking is because I need God to tell me what is it about me.
Yeah.
That's why I'm spending time with God, not so
Yeah.
I can recite the Ten Commandments, not so I understand, how he parted the Red Sea, or not so I can understand, Psalms 91, he that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High.
Or
That's not.
2,300 days on the sanctuary.
Oh, who could? Yeah,
Amen.
exactly. I can tell you what happened. Yeah, what does the sanctuary being cleansed really mean? What does it really mean? Yeah, which is a whole new show actually. But it's spend time with God so I can figure out what is it in me why I'm stuck at 4.
Yeah.
Why am I stuck at 4? Why can't I get to 5 and 6 and 7 and 8?
What's the text that talks about, like, if I have no love, I'm just an empty symbol clanging?
Yeah, yeah.
First Corinthians
First
13.
Corinthians 13. Is that's 1, isn't it? Isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
That's,
The
that's how it
beginning of it.
opens.
That's how it
Yeah,
opens.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I don't have love. I'm just a sounding brass or a tinkling
Mm.
cymbal. You calling me a sounding brass?
I didn't say you, but if the cap fits.
But you're the one who is 8, so it can't be you. It's the other person.
It's the others.
Yes.
Well, I'm going for transparency and open and honesty. I didn't really mean it that I was the 8, but I wasn't saying that I was the 4 either. It was a friend.
Yeah.
That's clear
I
as
think one
mud.
of the two, but anyway.
That's clear as mud. Now I'm speaking hypothetically, of course,
Yeah.
of course.
No, but I think that's there is something about being self-aware.
Yes.
There's something about also having an understanding about generational stuff as well, in terms of how your family dynamics were growing up and how things were dealt with, and how, because actually what happens is, it's just like, the best example for me is as a parent, you always say, I'll never do that when I have kids, I'll never do that. And then when you have kids, you find yourself doing the same things.
Yeah.
And you didn't, and it literally is an automatic thing you're doing, and not that you're planning, because you
No.
planned that you weren't going to do it. And then all of a sudden you're kicked into parent mode, and you've done it, and you're like, oh my days.
It's
my
a
parent did
it's a compulsion to repeat what we've experienced in our environment. Yeah.
So sometimes you find yourself not talking to someone, not because that's what you really want to do, but actually the only way you've ever seen to deal with conflict is, well, and I'm not going to speak to you for the next 30 years. Okay. and that's about it. Whereas actually sometimes you have to go against that natural feeling to do the thing that makes you uncomfortable. So actually,
Yeah.
I don't want to sit next to you right now because I'm angry, but I'm going to sit next to you because I love you. And I know if I don't sit next to you right now, I'm not going to sit next to you for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So actually, I'm sitting next to you, and then or I don't want to have that conversation with you, or I don't want to do something, or actually, because I'm always fascinated when people have relationship conversation. They talk about, so when I'm angry, you just leave me for a couple of days. Don't worry if I disappear, whatever, and I'll come back and then we'll talk about it. No. That's not a healthy way
Yeah.
of communicating. So,
But is that okay? What's the difference between what you just said and what you said your ex-husband said? Because I think that those were the same things. I need
The
to
length
go.
of time,
I need
maybe.
to go away and
no,
come
he
back.
didn't. He didn't need to go away. No. He never went to go away.
Not
He said-
necessarily. Oh, okay. Go away. I didn't mean physical. I didn't think you meant physically go away.
No. What he said is that he doesn't argue.
Right.
So he said, if you want to shout and scream,
Yeah.
you'll shout and scream by yourself, because
Right.
I will never be in that, because he doesn't find it healthy. So, an argument is a discussion. There
So
was
you're
no-
having the discussion
it-
there.
it was-
You're not parking it.
No. So it's not a park.
Okay,
So let's
right,
talk.
right,
Let's
right,
talk
right.
about it. Let's
Right.
deal with whatever the issue
calmly.
is, but let's not deal with it wanting to get all
Right.
frothing at the
I'm
mouth and
with you,
everything
I'm
else.
with you, I'm
So
with
that
you.
so it's and I think and I was able to see that as a healthy thing.
Yeah.
Therefore, I was happy to buy into it.
Yeah.
But if you see someone with an unhealthy practice, it's about having that conversation about, well, actually, you going off for 2 days into the sunset. I'm not hearing from you. You switch.
Yeah.
Every time I call you, you decline my call. That's
Yeah,
not healthy.
that's yeah. I mean, sometimes it helps to have some time and space, but you both have to agree on how much time and space, and certainly not a couple of days, certainly not ignoring or stonewalling the other person.
Yes.
So, I mean,
Totally.
a couple of hours will help you regulate yourselves and come back and have a reasonable discussion. When you're heightened, when you're in survival mode, nobody's listening to the other person. And so if you're wanting to resolve things there and then and everyone's shouting, nobody's listening, right? So
yeah.
time and
I
space
see.
sometimes is
Yeah.
necessary, but it's got to be for the benefit of both people. It shouldn't be punitive where one person's thinks they've got the upper hand and punishing the other person, and and then you return when you feel like it. I
Yeah.
might not be ready to talk to you when you return, actually, and then that
This is
just becomes
And
That's
again,
not be outside.
yeah. And again, if I feel if you're feeling that you need to punish me, I almost feel I don't want to be with you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah,
I may
I'm
have
not-
done something wrong. I'm not saying, oh, because I never do anything wrong. But if you're saying,
I might be a child, but I'm not your child.
hey, hey, yeah, I like it. I like it. I
Yeah.
like it. Charlie, come on. I can
Yes,
see. I can see
so-
some comments there.
So Sharon is enjoying the show tonight. This is a brilliant episode of After Dark. Thank you, Sharon.
Oh, thanks, Sharon. We
Um,
shout with Sharon. Sharon Wallace.
Yes.
Okay.
She says, there's the 8 that you think you are. She says, there's the 8 that you think you are.
Yeah.
The 3 that your spouse thinks you are.
Oh.
And the 5 that your children think you are. And the real
Amazing.
number, which is probably what the children perceive. And it's
Oh,
true.
that's very
what I mean?
good,
Because-
actually.
do you know what?
That's very good.
That's amazing.
We create some insightful people around us, and they call our children. And
Yeah.
sometimes, you can put up a mask and do all of these kind of stuff, and they, especially this generation, they will tell you exactly what they see.
I like
Yeah.
that comment, actually.
Yeah, that's
The 8 that you
excellent,
think
Sharon.
you are,
Thanks for that
the
one.
3 that your spouse thinks. Yeah, because I'm an 8. I'm an 8. And you phone my wife now, she might say, 3?
He's a -2.
Yeah, as an 8. I love that. I do love
Yeah.
that, actually. I do love that.
It's a good one.
Oh, dear. So I actually have a couple of texts, Charlie.
Go on, Mark.
Texts. When I put the spend time with God, it said read Isaiah 40 verse 31 and read Matthew 7 3-5. So I'm just throwing those texts out there just to support what we were saying about what the Bible might say. But they do support the idea of self-examination. As we said, and we kind of got a little bit glib with it, but it's true. So we weren't saying go and study the 2,300 days and the sanctuary message and the temple and all of that. It's about figure out where you are emotionally and how your emotions are bringing you in line with your character with God, or bringing your character in line with the character of God, or moving you further away.
Yeah.
So that's what it was saying. It says, so spend time with God and examine yourself. Oh, the next, okay, it says, I'm going to skip the one I was going to read next, and it said, seek wise help, which is what you've been saying, Alison, all along, is that we need to seek that wise help, outside help, somebody that can bring some wisdom to the conversation, bring some wisdom to the situation. And again, as I always say to Paul, we are trying to seek to find that ideal. We're not in the ideal, because if you're not trying to find the ideal, the whole show and the whole discussion is redundant. We could just
absolutely.
go. So we are assuming that we want to find the ideal. Seek wise help. And what came after examine yourself was choose grace. Choose grace. I've heard those old preachers say things like, God says, I'll take your sins and cast them into the bottom of the sea. And the problem with us in church is that we're all deep sea divers. Yeah. And it's a glib, funny line. But when you think about it, God has forgiven me. come on, wife. or husband. I mean, sorry. Come on, spouse. God has forgiven me. So choose grace. Every marriage involves two imperfect people, it says.
Mm.
All right. Every marriage involves two imperfect people. My imperfection may not be the same as your imperfection. And this might lend itself a little bit to what Sharon's saying. I think I'm 8. I'm nearly there. But I've got a couple of things missing. And you're the one who's got 5 things missing. But then from another perspective, hold on, Dad, you're kind of lacking, So, just remember, we're both imperfect. And we're both thinking that, well, I've been this way all my life, so it must be okay. So seek wise help. Got a few texts here as well. Oh no, it's just one. Proverbs 11:14. Make notes. Proverbs 11:14. Seek your help from mature Christian mentors. It says trusted pastors, but I will say trusted believers, because no, trusted pastors and trusted believers, because I was going down the road of beware of the pastor to just give you 2,300 days knowledge, but that's being unfair to the pastor, because I'm assuming that the pastor will want to give you that 2,300 day knowledge, as opposed to how do you get your relationship in place knowledge, and that's a prejudice of mine which I should remove.
But it's about honesty for me. I think whoever you align with to sit down and ask for counsel, they need to they're being honest with you as well. So they're giving you the honest reflections of what relationships are, or what they've experienced and how they honestly got through it.
Yeah.
And because people are going through things in their relationships, in their marriages,
Yeah.
and they're not, and then when it comes to going to the hen event, they're telling people advice that they're not even really using for themselves.
Yeah.
Let's be honest and tell people. Let them not think that they're going. Some people argue after their wedding day, or their wedding day. They're arguing on their wedding day because mom wanted flowers, grandma wanted something, whatever. Not, you guys are caught in the middle, and they do the whole plastic fantastic thing, and they're not even on their wedding day. They're at loggerheads.
Yeah, I think that sometimes we have a society around us or communities around us who are uncomfortable with dealing with the truth about what's happening in some people's marriages and some people's relationships. And so when somebody comes to talk to you about what they're going through, if you can't connect, if you can't help them, then signpost them to somebody who can. Don't undermine what people are going through. Don't kind of dismiss what people are going through, because that's how people become inauthentic and very untrusting, and then don't talk about things. Because if we say, for example, we're in church and the expectation, like you said, is come in holding hands. You might not speak to each other all week, but you come in holding hands in church, trying to give the impression that you're this perfect couple, and nobody actually knows that you're suffering. Maybe both of you are really suffering. So what is church about? What's the family of God about? What's the point? Like, I might as well just stay at home and watch something on YouTube, rather than turn up, because that's supposed to be a space where we bear each other's burdens and we can be honest, and without people frowning upon us and looking at us like we've got some sort of leprosy because we've got problems in our relationship. That's quite normal for people. Like Mark said, relationships can be seasonal. And sometimes, yes, we can have these challenges, but being part of a family of God, we should be able to hold each other and not have stigma against people who have problems.
I've got a note here. That we are trying to seek the ideal, but it says it's important to note the exceptions, so that if people are stuck in a situation or a relationship where they're feeling tired with their spouse, and we're talking about all different ways that you can navigate and get out of it, but it says it's important to note that don't necessarily apply if you find yourself in an abusive situation and in serious harm. So we're
Yeah.
not saying do all of these things if you are in that situation. And it highlights a few of them: physical abuse, sexual abuse, coercive control, and serious emotional abuse and threats of violence. That's a different kettle of fish. And don't feel that the Lord is asking you to find the ideal when someone's hitting you with the iron. You know, it's not. That's not
Not
what we're
even a
saying.
marriage.
No, definitely not. So I
Yeah.
just wanted to make that point. I've got here. Do you have anything there? I've got here because it's almost like I'm into my summary and what we've got. We've got a few minutes left, but it just says, just for Paul's benefit, there is hope for every marriage.
There is.
Paul says, yeah, but what when you get to the point where you just can't?
It's true, though. You know, seriously.
There is hope for every
I
marriage.
I genuinely believe that there is hope
Yeah.
for every marriage.
Yeah.
You can't-
And sometimes
Oh.
it might start off very rocky
Yeah,
and then settle down
yeah,
into a beautiful relationship. So I fully understand that. I'm just concerned, which is why I brought it out in the first place, that there are going to be people who would love to have the ideal, would love to, but it didn't start out that way,
yeah,
and they're at loggerheads, and before you know it, whether it's behaviours or whether it's culture or whether it's something, that baggage that they've brought into it, it doesn't work. But a lot of the time there are so many people who feel that they cannot, it's that same thing you were talking about, the couple going at it
yeah.
and then getting out the holding hands and going into church. There are so many people who feel trapped in relationships,
Yeah.
and they don't feel in our circles, and I'm talking about people of faith, they don't feel that they can be honest and go their separate
But I think
ways.
Alison's given us some good pointers about how, if I am in that,
I
Yeah.
acknowledge that.
yeah,
I
and
acknowledge
if I find
I do.
myself in that situation, I think Alison has given some really good pointers on what we should do in that situation. Always assuming that our goal is to get through it,
Yeah.
and great if we're both eights. But if but if we're not, we've got some really good pointers about how we get to eights or get to the same place. And I'm saying 8 as opposed to we're both 4s
Yeah.
because the both 8s to me says we both want
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
You know,
Both eights, we're looking at each other side eye.
yeah, but if we're both 4s, it's
Yeah.
like, why are we having a conversation?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there is hope for every marriage, and I think we've had some really good pointers on it.
Yeah.
God,
Can I share some of mine?
yeah.
About praying together weekly.
Usually you take over the whole show, so we're
Mark.
running out of time. Go on.
Praying together weekly, attending counseling together or separate and then coming together,
Yeah.
creating new traditions, recommit to kindness.
Yes.
Remember what kindness is. Sorry, let me just divert to a point that says a great point regarding not staying in abusive marriages.
Oh, yes,
yes.
definitely.
We
We
need
don't
to
want to
put
get
that.
any ideas out there that we're talking about including abusive relationships here at all. Yeah.
Healing requires honesty, humility, patience, and prayer. Recommitment is a daily choice. Tiredness is not failure, it's feedback.
Ooh. Ooh.
We like that. We like that.
Marriage is not maintained by love alone, but by intentional effort.
Yeah.
You can rebuild, reconnect, and revive your relationship. You don't fall back in love by accident. You rise back into love by intention.
Tension. Absolutely. Agreed.
Yeah, and if you have tired in your of your spouse, healthy marriages are built over time. So I should say rebuilt. It says built here, but I'm saying healthy marriages are rebuilt over time through humility, forgiveness, communication, and mutual. And for mutual, I'm putting in equal commitment. which is some of the points that we've been highlighting this evening.
And can I just add a couple of things to
Yes,
those
please.
amazing lists that you've shared? Couple of things, healthy boundaries, right? Healthy boundaries in our relationships are very important, and having a shared vision for that relationship. If you don't come together and agree on what your vision in any relationship, you need to have a shared vision, shared purpose. Where are you going together? If you don't have a shared understanding, vision, direction of travel, then you might be going. But if you've got an agreement and understanding, then that normally helps. But healthy boundaries is very important. Mutual respect is very important. If communication, but effective communication, because we're communicating all the time, but what's the communication doing for us or to us? Is it effective or is it harmful communication? So we need to make sure that we're communicating effectively, whether that's verbally or non-verbally, because sometimes just the way we, look at somebody and roll our eyes, right? That starts to be an indication that we're tired in that. So you don't even have to say anything. You just need to roll your eyes when somebody says something, and you can tell, oh, I think that person's tired in their relationship. So effective communication, both verbally and non-verbally, are very important.
Okay, I think our time is up. Our time is up. Alison, that's been absolutely amazing. Wonderful.
Thanks for having me. It's
No,
been
thank you for
very
sharing.
enjoyable.
Thank
And
you.
thanks to
Thank you.
everybody online as well.
Yes,
who's
to all those
contributed.
listeners online. Yeah, and yes, to all those listeners online. Not so sure about the ones that were laughing at me for being a dinosaur, but but for all of the comments, thank you so much. And we are here again next week. We've got a 4-week season, so we're here again next week, and do tune in, God willing. God willing, be with us 8 o'clock on a Wednesday night. 2-hour conversation after dark. Get the kids to bed and get a glass of something nice in your hand. We'll see you then. Thank you so much, Alison. Thank you
Thank
all,
you.
listeners. See you
Bye-bye.
next time. God bless.
God bless. Bye.
Bye bye. Bye bye.
Conflict, bereavement, fear, relationship, anger, depression, negative thoughts, trauma, and uncertainty can all cause emotional imbalance. Don't struggle alone.
CCS.
CCS, your trusted confidential
love
counseling
it.
service,
It
is
is
here.
really
I wait
Call
for
our
that every
listening
time.
line
And you know,
0
the interesting thing
3301
is that
332
it's still